And when it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets instantly with code DNVR only at DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm your host, Patrick Lyons, and joining me today, it's the return of AJ, a.k.a. at Return of AJ on Twitter. What's up, AJ?
What's up, man?
AJ Haefele back in person. Got your Yard Goats hat on. You're ready to go to talk all things Rockies, WBC, player preview, Kyle Freeland, Elehuris Montero, and Ryan McMahon. You ready to go?
Yeah. The WBC got me jacked for baseball,
right?
So
it was very exciting.
Yeah, I was not into it. I didn't watch any of like the round robin stuff.
Sure,
get into it. Obviously, I'm a little busy with my day job at the moment. With the Avs playing every other day, so. But no, the when they got into the elimination, of WBC. I mean, the games were just phenomenal.
They're great.
They were just must watch, and seeing the enthusiasm from the players, I think how much they cared about it was just kind of a reminder for just sports fans in general that there's just nothing quite like athletes getting the opportunity to represent the country that they come from.
Yeah.
In an international stage like that.
Yeah.
We know, in obviously in the hockey world, the NHL players are banned from the Olympics right now, and
right.
It's a huge thing. Like, it's a huge point of contention, and it's such an opportunity to grow the game. And seeing baseball have such a wonderful WBC be completely undersold locally, like so many people just didn't even know it was going on, and and it just felt like what a wonderful baseball experience was wasted on.
And the WBC was born out of the fact that baseball was eliminated from the Olympics. So they kind of had to do it themselves. And so, maybe someday, hockey ends up doing something like that. It was funny. I think Connor McDavid.
They are attempting to.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, I think, wasn't it Connor McDavid who was either asked about it or was just kind of said unpromptedly, like, yeah, WBC was pretty great. And it's like, wow, people in other sports are actually talking about baseball and still can't stop buzzing about Ohtani, Trout, Japan, Ohtani, and Ohtani.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a seminal moment for a sport that has lacked buzz.
Yeah.
For a really long time, to see people really, really excited about it like that.
Yeah.
And getting the Ohtani Trout matchup, like watching Twitter that night.
Right.
And watching people anticipating it because they could see it coming.
Oh.
You could see it coming. People are talking about it in the 8th inning, and you're like, here it comes. And just when you've captured kind of that cultural moment, it becomes such a touchstone for you as a sport that you can always point back to and be like, Ohtani Trout, like, come on.
That was it. Where were you?
Yeah, and
March.
The result of that, like, to be honest, if you were so caught up in the United States winning that you couldn't appreciate that moment, I mean, that was a damn, that sucks if you're rooting for the United States, but like, ultimately it felt like what a tremendous game, what a tremendous WBC, and to finish it out with arguably the two most talented players in the world going head to head, like, that's literally what it was all about.
I was thinking, just as you're saying that, you're like, you know what? Yeah, USA, we lost, Japan won, but in the best possible fashion, with the best guy on the mound, the best player in the world, and you go, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't think the reverse would have been true in 2001, or rather, what actually happened. We had the Yankees losing to the Diamondbacks in 2001. I think that also would have been true, even though Diamondbacks, it was their first World Series, and since their only World Series appearance and their only World Series win. But had the Yankees won in 2001, a month or two after 9/11, I think they would have kind of been okay with, like, this goes for the story, for the world, and for our country and the nation. That's kind of bigger. A similar thing of, like, it's bigger. And Japan winning and Ohtani doing in that fashion was amazing. The ratings came out and they were, off the charts. They were really, really positive. So even here in America, as you said, even though it was a little bit undersold, it was really positive.
Just stop with FS1.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of strange. What's not strange, although it was not the way I was going, I thought it was going to be Kyle Freeland. It was announced this morning. Bud Black went with Germán Marquez as the opening day starter. This is now his third opening day start. First pitcher to start 3 opening days. Breaks a 10-way tie with I don't know that I could just name all of them off the top of my head. Kevin Ritz, Mike Hampton, Darryl Kyle, Jason Jennings, Aaron Cook, Jorge De La Rosa. Did I say Kevin Ritz? Probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say him again later. John Gray, Kyle Freeland,
Jorge De La Rosa,
and Kevin Ritz.
Those are some dark years.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, Marquez, we were talking beforehand. Would you have gone Freeland or would you have gone Marquez? And also, is it that big? Is that big of a difference? That big of a deal that one gets it over the other?
I would have gone Freeland. Do I think it's that big of a deal? No.
Yeah.
I think like opening day starter has become kind of a overblown thing. But I'm also a person that likes all the changes that baseball's making.
Sure.
So
Same.
like I understand that I'm a monster in the community.
Well, do you also consider yourself? I would think you do. Kind of a traditionalist, kind of a historian, but yet you are also flexible because that's how I view myself. It's like, no, I'm old school, but then something new school comes around and I go, yep, I'm going to adopt that, like because it makes sense, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been pushing for the universal DH for most of my life.
Sure.
Mostly because I just couldn't imagine a sport taking itself seriously while
pitchers,
POs,
pitchers only.
Half of your sport plays by different rules. And thus, they build their rosters differently, and they have different advantages. And it wasn't like what a fun quirk. I was like, this is stupid.
The rest of the baseball world also doesn't let the pitchers hit. I mean, all the way from Little League to high school. In Japan, they all use DH. College baseball, DH. So that makes sense.
To me, I was always just like, imagine any other sport where, depending on where you are, like the rules are just different. And why is that? Well, they just are. So, I guess I don't consider myself too much of a traditionalist because I think that change is healthy when it comes to sports where leagues get really, really bogged down and obsessed with their own product that they think it's too good to be changed. It's above being reformed to be made better. And baseball and hockey are my two favorite sports, and they're the two sports that you can argue do that the most, where they're like,
sure,
no. And hockey going to 3v3 overtime, I think was wonderful for it because and there are people now. I work with one of them, Rudo, the true monster, who hates it and thinks it's boring and stupid, and we should bring back ties. But
it's not boring.
Well, it's certainly not what it used to be. But anyway, like. And like I love the runner in the 10th inning and stuff. Like let's finish games. Like I get it, and I would never consider it for the postseason.
Agreed.
In the same way that you would never consider 3v3 in hockey in the postseason. It's perfect. Leave it as is.
Because if you can't beat the team in regulation or even in overtime or extra innings, then that is a penalty that you should suffer where your players are tired, they're more fatigued, the pitchers are, got
I mean, they've
spent more of their bullets, and that's going to impact you in the next round.
You just
so that's
figure it
fair.
Out. Yeah,
in the postseason.
I think it's great. You have to win the games. It's got to be. Yeah, see, Jay, it was great until coaches killed it. They didn't kill 3v3, guys.
Jay in the comments, the
3v3 still has more awesome games than not, but there are some slow ones now.
So AJ, Manny's kind of hitting on something here in our chat on the DNVR Sports channel on YouTube. Mike Hampton must have been your guy because when he was in the game, it was like there was a designated hitter right there. He was the Ohtani.
I did love him.
Hamptani. Yeah. How has that nickname not been a thing? Can we get Eric to work on something? Do you think we could sell a Mike Hampton shirt? Hamptani? He's the original guy.
I don't think we could sell that to Mike Hampton.
His family? No, not even at a Hampton reunion?
No.
The Hampton family reunion is not buying any of the Hamptani shirts. That's a shame. What's not a shame is Charlie Blackmon's kind of on the road to recovery. He's going to get a couple at-bats here in a minor league game, according to Thomas Harding of MLB. CJ Cron's going to have a full practice, so a little fielding and batting practice. No concern that even though we're a little bit less than a week away, it's next Thursday in San Diego, they're going to be good to go.
All the old guys will be ready.
We hope, yes. Average time of game is down for the Rockies right now. For the Rockies, it's been 2 hours, 37 minutes through their first 25 games. Last year is at 2:58, so we're down 21 minutes or 12%, and it's a lot of fixing of batting gloves, stepping out of the box, wiping your eye, going to the back of the rubber. How are you liking the pitch clock rules so far from what you've seen early on in spring training, or at least of what you've heard?
It's funny. I was actually just having this conversation yesterday with my wife about it. Who is still like in the early stages of baseball fandom.
Sure.
Where we go to like games together, but when it's on TV, she's kind of like in and out of them.
Go Winnipeg Golden Eyes, by the way.
Yeah, we actually got our bobblehead. We're going to
yes.
We're gonna go to Reggie Abercrombie night on August 11th.
Let's go.
All-time great Winnipeg Gold Eye, baby.
Yeah.
But like I was talking to her about it because I was telling her that she's one of the people like has a pace of play problem.
Sure.
And I was telling her that the Sports Illustrated, I was just reading something on Sports Illustrated that the average time from spring training games last year was just a shade over 3 hours. It was 3 hours and a minute, and the average spring training game this year is down to about 2.5.
Yeah.
So tracks with your Rockies numbers as well.
Nice.
And I like hockey games are 2.5 hours. Basketball games are like 2:15. Like you're talking, to me, I think it's tremendous progress. You obviously want to see how it's going to play out competitively and how they, you saw Max Scherzer trying to push the rules and the limits, and that's healthy. Like those guys need to find the angles where they can, quick pitching a guy I think is going to be a really interesting dynamic this year. But I'm all about the increased pace of play and it just getting a move on. I was never really all that romantic about how much time got wasted.
Yeah.
I understand, a guy stepping out, there's like a game there and you're trying to mess up a guy's rhythm and this and that. But in terms of it being compelling theater, it just really wasn't. It was just you're watching a guy like redo his batting gloves a lot, and you're like, dude.
That's the key word, compelling. Because I'll go to the movies to see a 3-hour film. I'll see a 4-hour film if it's good, right? But if it's not compelling, it's like we could have edited a lot of things out. There's a couple deleted scenes in there, and all those step outs, right? All those little different nuanced things that goes on that you go, there's no action. Those are deleted scenes. Cut those things out. And so I think baseball is doing that, and they've already made a couple tweaks, and there's going to be potentially some restrictions on bat girls and bat boys. We had talked about that earlier on in spring training. The first game that I witnessed, there was a kid running behind home plate while Ty Block was throwing a pitch because the kid had to run, behind in foul territory to go to the first base coach to grab a shin guard and run back. And so they're going to make, different rules to make sure that there's tweaks so you can't do a lot of the fast pitch. They've already kind of implemented that a Scherzer rule, so you can't necessarily do that. So
yeah, and I think
it's
we're gonna continue to watch these rules as they develop throughout the year, as guys find the edges that they can push. And I think that's gonna be an interesting game within the game.
It's fun
that develops from those rules. Not that I loved the old game within the game of trying to mess up a guy's rhythm and the timing and all that, but I will be interested to see what develops out of it, and hopefully it's not bad.
Yeah.
Because the biggest reason that people don't like to do things is because the fear of unintended consequences. So we'll see how it develops, but I think it's off to a good start.
Also,
it's off to an encouraging start. I want to say.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think everyone's liked it that has seen it. We're even seeing in the chat here on the DNVR Sports channel on YouTube that people are coming around to it. Like again, it's something that the idea of it. You go, if I'm going to the game, I'm okay with it being 3 hours or 3:15 or maybe even 3:30. I'm hanging out with some friends. We're talking. We're BSing. We're not going to go home until the final out. And that's great for that. So sure that those moments are going to get impacted. But what about when you're at home and you got work the next day and you want to catch the end of that game or you want to see some highlights from the West Coast, whether you're watching Ohtani and Trout, whatever it is. So I think people are adjusting to it. They're figuring out. I think they're going to realize it. They're also not even going to notice that that's happening. There's going to be people in June going to a ball game, their fifth one of the year, and going, "Oh yeah, you know what? First base does look a little bit bigger. Yeah, it was slightly larger. So we shouldn't have that much issue over that. The pitch clock is kind of similar to that.
I think the bases being bigger is about as inside baseball as it gets. Like
Sure.
that has to be a thing you care about. For me, I'm all about it because I loved the running game. It was one of my favorite.
That's nice.
It's one of my favorite parts of baseball was the running game and watching it just disappear in my lifetime. So guys could try and hit home runs has been awful.
Yeah. Well, we are not going to disappear here at the DNVR bar on the corner of Colfax and York. But what is going to disappear is 15% off your tab when you are a diehard food and drink. You get that. Also, when you sign up, each and every year you get a new shirt. That's so fantastic right there.
My roommate comes down and makes sure that he gets his 15% every time. It's great.
There's literally like just a magic number that you go like, all right, if I go this often, like it's free. And then I'm also getting a free shirt. And then I'm also getting 20% off DNVR Locker if I want to buy some gear for myself or friends and loved ones. Or if you're going to one of the takeovers, April 29th, for the first time in a long time, people are excited about Diamondbacks and Rockies.
So I can't hard commit to it because the Avalanche may or may not have an important game that day.
We hope.
But if there is no Avs game that day, I am 1,000% at that takeover.
AJ's on the bus.
I'm so excited for it.
There you go. All right.
I'm so excited.
AJ's bussing. Let's go. Yeah, we got an exclusive shirt that'll be coming out just for that. You get a little, ticket for to get a discount on some of your food and everything. It's such a great deal, and then access to the Diehards Only Discord where we're talking about all the major sports. Hiking, and people are doing skiing and snowboarding, helping each other out, giving each other free lift tickets, things like that, and then pro wrestling too. I know you don't dive into that one that much, but once in a while, I feel like I've seen you've in the past.
I hang out in the Rockies chat every once in a while.
You do.
I mostly stick with the Avalanche, but that's mostly because I have to try and wrangle those crazy people. They don't talk about hockey very much in there.
No. Our Rockies group is good.
Man.
The Rockies group talks Rockies, and
we can't talk about what they talk about on the Avs channel. This is a family show.
Okay. A family beer is Breck Brew. How about that for a segue? Avalanche Ale, very fitting. We got AJ here, covers the Avalanche for DNVR Avalanche. It's a classic American pale that blends chocolate, caramel malts. Absolutely delicious all times of the year.
Yeah.
Still the reigning.
Rudo drinks one every game.
Well, it's still the reigning Stanley Cup championship beer. I mean, that's it. It's the Avalanche Ale.
That's right.
They're still running it. They're going to go back to back. What's the percentage of not only Avalanche Ale being the best beer for another year, but the Colorado Avalanche in being the best hockey team, winning the Stanley Cup? Is it in the 60 percentile mark, perhaps?
I was going to put it more like 10.
What?
Yeah.
You're not having confidence, huh?
I mean,
once you're in the postseason, it is a new season.
Yeah, it's the Avs are always come with the asterisk of injury because it just hasn't ended for them. Like just the other day, they're missing 7 regulars out of their lineup. Like
it's rough.
It doesn't end, man. So if they get those guys back, they are very, very. They're the team to beat.
Sure.
If they don't, they'll get beat by somebody.
Yeah. Well, I know it's a bummer to find all your favorite Avs players in the training room. Banged up a little bit, but you can find Avalanche Ale just by going over to breckbrew.com in the Breck Brew locator to find an Avalanche Ale near you. I see your head nodding back and forth here.
True that.
At my segues and my yes and improving. Jive Hive, JIVEHYVE, Uber Eats for marijuana. It's amazing. Low overhead because it's not a brick and mortar because they deliver it to you, to your doorstep. Schedule something or you can make a same day order and they'll deliver it to you. Super discreet, so no one in your neighborhood knows, no one that you work with, no one in your general community will know because it's your business, not theirs. So Jive Hive will go ahead and deliver that to you. It's fantastic. You can avoid driving through bad weather and snow. We still got April and May to get through for that last little bit of snow, but it's trending upward still, which is great.
It's gonna snow tonight.
Is it? Yeah.
That's why I was trying to get my car washed yesterday, and then I looked at the forecast and was like, never mind. Forget it. I'll wait till Sunday. All
right, so there you go. It's the weekend. It might snow tonight. Roads are going to be bad. Get yourself scheduled a delivery from jivehive.com, JIVEHYVE.com. They're serving in Monument, Falcon, Peyton, Fountain, Woodland Park, Security, Widefield, Aurora, and Greenwood Village. That's Jive Hive, JIVEHYVE. I'm glad you enjoyed the World Baseball Classic. We had a couple Rockies guys that were in there doing their thing. Freeland and Bard, it's nice to have them back. Bard, that was obviously a little disappointing that went down. But there have been some really good spring performers, for the Rockies. Chris Bryant has looked really solid as far as outfielders. Jonathan Daza, are you encouraged a little bit that at least Chris Bryant is healthy? But then on top of that, he's also playing well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm encouraged that he's healthy. I am a big time preseason is completely irrelevant in every sport. if you cite a preseason stat to me, my eyes will glaze over and I will stop taking that conversation seriously. Preseason for me is just totally irrelevant because you've seen so many times guys have great preseasons in all different sports, and it just doesn't matter.
I'm going to challenge you on that because Zach Veen has 7 stolen bases.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I mean, he tries to steal a base every time he gets on.
Fair.
That's how he's been since the moment he was drafted. He gets on first, and he can't not.
He's got a good success rate.
I don't know what it is. I mean, he just can't. No, I love Zach Veen, and I think he's going to be
breath of fresh air.
I mean, I think he's going to be. I was probably higher on him a year ago than I am today because I want to see him put on weight and keep it.
Power.
Because as much as I like the running game, it's way more advantageous to hit doubles than singles and then try and steal second. So I want him to grow into that power a lot more. And right now he has not put on the kind of weight that his frame would suggest he could hold. He's obviously still a baby in terms of adults.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still in the early stages of that physical maturation period where unfortunately there's nothing you can do to speed it up. You literally just have to wait for that to happen. But all the rest of his skills that he's worked on, I think you should only be encouraged that he's at least going to be a regular.
Yeah, if you look at extremes, you say, are you okay with him being more Juan Pierre, or would you want him being more like, let's say, a guy like Mark Reynolds, where you're going to get that home run, and maybe that's not a fair comparison.
Extremes.
But as far as talent goes, you go, oh, Juan Pierre was really good. Well, Mark Reynolds was actually really good too. Yeah. Would you rather the power, or would you rather just the speed? And in a weird way, you go, I like Juan Pierre maybe more than Mark Reynolds, but right now in 2023, you'd rather the 25 home run consistency, 30 home run consistency. We even saw 35 out of Mark Reynolds. You'd rather that.
Well, and it's more like, can you get 20 of each out of him? Can you get 20 home runs and 20 steals out of him?
You'd love that.
Or is it going to be, if you try and get 30 home runs out of him, is it going to mean that you get 5 steals out of him? So it's that balancing act of what's the most valuable overall profile from him. Because when you're going to add weight, the base stealing is just going to go down. Like you're going to have to be. There's just going to be a trade off there for him. So,
sure.
I'm excited though. I mean, it's not all about speed, obviously, with him. He's a very smart base runner, and that's why he's as successful as he is.
It's not even the speed; it's
very
the baseball
much understands it.
Yeah.
So, because he's not. I mean, if you look at like run times and stuff, he's not.
No,
he's not an elite runner. He's an above average runner who produces great results because he just understands what he's doing, and that's where I'm most encouraged by him.
Yeah.
So,
are you encouraged by the Rockies as a whole? There's been a lot of discussion in the Rockies community about potentially there being 100 losses. I think Mike Petriello today even just had something about it.
What a shock!
But he enjoys his projection systems. But
that guy feels like that guy, and there's a handful of them that just get bored.
Don't say Dan Zimborski. I mean, I think he's fair, but he does like dunking on the Rockies.
Well, and
he's okay.
He's the other one where they just don't have anything to talk about on social media, and so they're like, let's dunk on the Rockies. This is an easy and popular thing to do.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with both those guys, but 100 losses. Ooh, what have you thought about that yet? Do you have a win total that you think the Rockies will have this year?
No, because I just think that there are so many unknowns. Between what are you going to get out of Chris Bryant? Mm-hmm. What are you going to get out of Tovar? What are you going to get out of some of these other guys that could be playing, that could be regulars for you when you have a couple of different injuries? You don't love to be coming out of spring training with a major injury in Brendan Rodgers already. That's just straight up bullshit to start off. And that happening in spring training is like, all right, universe is trying to make this happen.
Yeah. And then Dick Mumford saying, hey, we're going to get Brad Hand. We're going to get Mike Moustakas. We're going to get Jerickson Profar.
Man, I didn't mind the Jerickson Profar thing.
Destiny be damned.
Moustakas was irrelevant, but the Jerickson Profar thing, I was like, yeah, I get it.
It's a nice signing. Yeah.
I get it.
He's a good player.
Yeah. And you hope that they figure out how to actually trade people at the trade deadline.
That's the thing, right?
No faith, but
That's the
that
thing.
would be the whole point. Like, okay, this makes sense.
Would you sign up for 52 wins? So you're losing 110 if you trade 5 players for prospects. And again, you might not be getting back top 100 guys for in all of these deals, but would you trade a 110 loss season for 5 trades where you're getting back future pieces?
How many top 100s am I getting?
2. But other guys that could be. Trevor Story wasn't really a top 100 guy, and we saw what he was able to do.
Well, let's say
you need those pieces.
Let's say top 100s, but how many top 10s out of?
I'll give you
systems?
one top 50, and you'll get a couple. You'll get 3 top 10 system guys.
Are they arms or are they position players?
A little bit of each. Your whatever favorite combination you want.
Man, I probably would.
Yeah,
I probably would. Just
what's the difference between 99 losses and 110 losses?
I mean, there is something.
What's the difference between getting those really good prospects and not having them? Well, we're kind of seeing it now.
And then it's not just that with the 110 losses, but you're also probably picking quite high in next year's draft,
which is checks my notes a good thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, because I mean, right now they're trying to make hay with the 8th pick every year, and that's.
Sure.
You're going to get a good player, but...
And then with the draft lottery, they end up getting, you could get bumped back, which ended up happening this year with the lottery that they've got going on. So, yeah, the Rockies, and besides there being so many unknowns, it's the Rockies and it's Coors Field, and it's so hard to quantify that.
Yeah.
And so every year you go, they bring back the same team, so of course they'll be a little bit better or a little bit worse, and then the opposite happens, and so, all right, they seem to be destined for 100 losses. They're going to go out and probably win 70. And go, they're 2 wins better than last year?
Yeah.
Without Rodgers? Like, all right. Like, that would not surprise me.
I mean, without Rodgers, but with Bryant, no Jose Iglesias as shortstop, but with whatever you're going to get out of Zeke Tovar, where...
Limited Senzatella, too, because he's hurt. He's coming back. You lost Bouchard and you lost Gilbreth. So, I mean, it is pretty much running back the same team. So, but they win two more games, you go... Wow, okay, they did it. Like, that's just a variability. That's baseball. And Bud Black is, does a good job of getting a little bit more out of those guys, too.
Does a great job of getting 70 wins a year.
What is that supposed to mean? No. So
means if you're trying to get 70 wins, he's your man.
You know what game time tickets means? It means saving on your tickets to any event. It means getting really good seats. Whether you're going to be rinkside, courtside, 50-yard line, behind home plate, or maybe even just to get in through the front door, whatever it is, you can do that up to 60 minutes before the start of an event. You can use code DNVR, I think, or you can really just hit the link that we've got in our description. That's really the best way to dive right in there to Game Time tickets. There's already some really good deals on Rockies tickets this year, believe it or not. For some reason, people want to go to the game on April 6th, a week after opening day, and then no one wants to go on the 7th, 8th, or 9th. It's strange. I think it might be called the home opener. Yeah.
Or the 10th, or the 11th.
Yeah.
The 12th.
Well, Nolan's coming to town on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so that will kind of be interesting to see how much people will turn up that early in the season on a weekday.
A whole bunch of people wearing red.
There will be. But so that might mean good things for you as far as saving a couple bucks in your wallet with Game Time tickets. Again, 15 million folks.
Game Time is great, dude. It's awesome.
I used them 10 years ago when they were first starting out, and I saw a Red Rock show for $15. Like, it's great. Yeah. It's great, especially if you're at the DNVR bar or you're hanging out close to the arena or an event, whatever it is. You just keep checking, and if the price is right, you go, you know what? I'm just going to jump over and go to this concert or go to this game now because the price is right, because we're only an hour away. And if you've got tickets and you got to get rid of them, you want to get something for them, lower that price, you'll find someone. It links people together. It's beautiful. Speaking of beauty, Fubo TV. I'm so excited to talk about Fubo TV because that's how I watch the WBC. I don't have like typical television and cable, and so it can be tricky for me sometimes to make sure I watch things or go into people's houses, staying here at the bar. But I had it right on my phone, Fubo TV. It's amazing. Family dinner. We went out to eat. It was my mother-in-law and my brother's birthday celebration. Had the game on my lap, checking down, keeping an eye on USA, Venezuela. I'm able to do that. My father-in-law's telling me about his new Impact driver. I'm watching Fubo TV, not missing out on all the action of the WBC. They've got so many channels and live sports. That's the big thing. 140 plus live channels of sports shows, movies, and news. Stream live TV from any device, anywhere. Watch most Colorado sports for the lowest price. And right now they got a cool free 7-day trial. No contract, no cable, no hassle. Just sign up and start watching. They got 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included with no extra charge. I've actually, we were talking about this. I'm watching the Dana Carvey show from back in 1996. It lasted 1 season, 8 episodes. It's amazing. Young Steve Carell and young Stephen Colbert was on it. Louis C.K. was one of the head writers. He pops up once in a while. It's just like this hidden gem of alternative comedy from the mid-'90s that was, I don't know, controversial, but it's different. It's unique. Fubo's got all kinds of really cool things like that.
Yeah. Those dudes feel like they were probably too early in 1996.
They were, well, the first episode is called like the Taco Bell Dana Carvey show. And like, that's what it says. And then episode 2 is the Mug Root Beer Dana Carvey show. And episode 3 is the Mountain Dew Dana Carvey show. They were just trying to like stick it to everybody. Very interesting. All kinds of wonderful content. You can also watch Nuggets and Avs on Altitude Sports with Fubo TV. Again, use the link in the description and you're going to save 15% when you sign up. Let's talk about Kyle Freeland. Not going to get the opening day start, but if he's starting in game 2, logistically, that actually means he will start the home opener. Did think that maybe he had a shot at getting the opening day start, but last year...
Which one do you think he cares about more?
I honestly think he would care more about the home opener. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I did talk with him in spring training about it. I said, just off the record of like, hey, you and Herman have 2. And he's like, you know what? It's fine. Herman is also really, worthy of that. But, and I kind of intimated like, well, I mean, you're going to be around here for a few more years. So he can get to 3 first. You can get to 4 first. And he laughed. He's like, yeah, I kind of like that idea. So you could see that, because at the beginning of last year, it started out with a nice contract extension, 5 years, $64.5 million extension to stick around in Colorado. Then he went out and had kind of a typical Kyle Freeland season. Got off to a rough start. I think the contract, might have put a little pressure on him because they weren't able to get it done before the start of the season. But what were your thoughts and what were your takeaways on what Kyle Freeland was able to do last year? Was it kind of typical Kyle Freeland, and is that okay?
I mean, I felt like, you mentioned it was a rough start, right? But I felt like he settled in after that, and I felt like it wasn't like Cy Young contending Kyle Freeland.
Sure.
I don't know that we'll ever see that again.
Right.
But I felt good about what they got out of Freeland, and if I could take, even with a slow start, if you could just take last year, copy and paste it over into this year, I think you're okay with that. I think that the pressure is on him and Herman to have better seasons than that, because there's just not a lot behind them right now.
Sure.
And because of that, I think there is pressure on them to be way better than that.
And there's pressure on them, I think, to post, like to start. Freeland started 31 games last year, which is really, obviously really valuable. Only 21 pitchers in MLB, made more starts last year. So just going out there and being healthy is really critical.
Yeah, availability is such an important and underrated skill.
It's the best ability.
But if they can get that.
Yeah. 4.53 ERA. It's kind of similar to what he did the previous 2 years where he had a 4.33 ERA. So really good, especially after that rough start.
Amazing to see that thing get under 4. But
and I think it could happen for him. Again, you think about having a sub 4 ERA in Colorado and you're like,
exactly.
That's ace type stuff. And you go, in everywhere else in the world, it's not. It's like, oh, that's just slightly above average. So again, the numbers don't really tell the entire truth. He did have the most wins above replacement, I think 2.4 according to Baseball Reference. So the highest on the staff. So he's leading that young group as he's now he's 29 today. I think his birthday's in May where he'll turn 30. So this will actually be his age 30 season. Now he's kind of bridge.
Kyle Freeland is 30, man.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
He's getting there. Is he going to have to get some tattoos removed now since you're over 30? Or just embrace it even more, go full body?
No, you should get more as you age.
Okay, so he set himself up for success in the 30s.
He
Then
needs more tattoos. Another tattoo, maybe knock a couple of runs off of his season.
There you go. That could be the secret to it. Yeah. But he's now a veteran, obviously leading these young guys. Really, Ryan Feltner's that only young guy right now. But with the rest of the young guys coming up in the organization, Jaden Hill, Gabriel Hughes, Chris McMahon, if he can get healthy, Sam Weatherly, all those guys, they're going to look to Kyle Freeland to kind of bridge that gap. And Joe Rock.
He's my favorite.
He's another good one. Yeah. Another left-hander, right? Yeah. You like that, a lanky guy. So. I think it's important for Kyle to just kind of continue to do what he's doing, be Mr. Consistency, and I think that's okay if we don't see glimpses of that 2018, Cy Young Award contender.
Yeah, really, if we just accept that was a huge anomaly for what his career is going to be, stop trying to hold him to that. It's probably fair for expectations, and what would be realistic for him. Because trying to hold him to that every year is just you're going to end up disappointed.
Do you like ERA or wins above replacement as kind of a better indicator of how successful a pitcher was? Because it's a little bit harder here in Colorado.
Yeah, there's all of the tools for that. The
ERA plus.
The FIP.
I do like FIP and I like xFIP. Yeah. But if we're saying wins above replacement, do you see Kyle Freeland having a better season, wins above replacement wise, than German Marquez?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually would say that as well. I think we were both on the same page. Freeland probably maybe got the edge as far as the opening day start. It's fine that it's Marquez now, but we both thought Freeland because of what he did last year. He was the best starter in the rotation. Well, not the best upside. He doesn't have that no hit potential.
Yeah,
but he's their ace.
I think he's just the more consistent of them, and he's way less reliant on missing bats to be successful.
True.
Whereas if German is not in the zone and he doesn't have his best stuff, he gets shelled too often. There's his bad days are bad, and with Freeland, I think it's just a more consistent groove.
Yeah.
Where he gets by with a lot of different avenues of success, and with German, it's I'm going to overpower you or I'm going to get overpowered, and it's kind of feast or famine with him.
Sure.
So, I usually would tend to prefer the Freeland type in that situation.
Freeland had 5 starts of 7 innings or more. One he gave up no runs, 1, 2, and then 4 runs in one of those outings. It'll be interesting to see if the pitch clock, allows for pitchers to go deeper in games and to save that bullpen. Because again, I think Kyle Freeland gets that. I think he understands hey, you know what? We need some innings today. Bullpen needs a rest. So maybe my focus is to go long rather than to be effective and dominate early and get whatever content. So you can see that big picture. He is a thinker in that way. So I think we'll see him actually have more outings of 7 innings or more this season, partially because of that pitch clock.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. Ryan McMahon, Elehuris Montero. They're
Yeah.
not both third basemen. I mean, they are, but they aren't.
Sort of.
Sort of. Yeah, Ryan McMahon's going to be playing second base this year. Montero should be filling his shoes there at third base. Thought that would be a good way to kind of link those two guys together, especially after the loss of Brendan Rodgers at second base. What would have been your thoughts just in general about a combo? I know McMahon and Rodgers you probably would have liked a little bit more than McMahon and Montero, but I still think there's a lot of juice there to be excited about a McMahon and Montero combination at second and third base.
Yeah, and you like that you're going to really get an idea of what you have with Montero this year. You're gonna really get to answer a question of because before the Rodgers injury, it was you like Montero, but where does he play? You want to see what he's got, but you're not going to play him at first base over CJ Cron.
No.
And he wasn't going to play at third over McMahon. So at least the one bright side out of the whole Rodgers thing is that you are going to get to figure out what you have with Elehuris Montero this year. As you said, it's not as good a combination as McMahon and Rodgers would have been, but maybe it ends up being just as good,
Sure.
right? Like maybe because we know defensively that McMahon's got the goods.
Yeah.
He can play a high level. And the bat will play better at second base. Like
Right.
hey, if you're going to be a 98 OPS plus guy every single year, you can do that. You can get away with it a lot better at second base than third base.
Yeah, DJ LeMahieu, as a second baseman, was considered, a top 10 second baseman. You put him over at third base, and you go, he might be in the top 15. Like, that's just, again, the offensive numbers are different. The profiles are different. I think McMahon, I could see him, end up playing a little bit at third base this year. I think that's one of the reasons why my hot take for McMahon is he's going to win a Gold Glove. It might not necessarily be at second base. It could be at the new utility spot, right?
Yeah.
Now they've got that. So I think that's actually going to help him out a little bit.
You can easily see that. When you give Montero days off, or
Right.
however they want
Sure.
to work it, because it's whatever they want to do at second base.
Yeah. Yeah, you could
I guess technically Mike Moustakas is hanging around
kind of.
now.
That one I don't think will happen, but Trejo at second, Castro at second,
gross.
McMahon can go to third base. And talking about Montero, his numbers at AAA were great. And Bud Black has said it multiple times that he's got nothing left to prove at AAA. And that's one of the reasons why he needs to stay on the big league roster. And again, his growth, might get stunted just a little bit if he's on the bench. Probably not going to happen now, obviously, as we said, but hit 310 in the Pacific Coast League, which is nice. 15 homers, 54 RBI, and you go, yeah, it's Pacific Coast League. Did that in only 65 games, so that's pretty darn good. And he still, when he got to the majors, this is a thing I think that gets overlooked just a little bit because he only had 176 at bats. He had a .432 slugging percentage last year.
Yeah,
of the
doubles.
Yeah, 15 of them. I want to say maybe 5 home runs.
He had 6.
It was either 4 or 6, and I went with the middle number. 6 home runs. The thing with his .432 slugging percentage, of the 14 Rockies who had at least 180 plate appearances, only Chris Bryant and CJ Cron had a better slugging percentage than Elehuris Montero. So he's got that pop, and now he's going to get an opportunity to play, and we'll get a chance to see just how high that potential can reach.
Yeah, contact is the problem because when he makes contact, he makes contact. He makes it count. But you're talking about a strikeout to walk ratio last year that's not good.
No.
He had 8 walks last year, something like that.
That's got to improve. Yes.
It was just he didn't do enough deep in counts. He doesn't work counts very well. He doesn't all that stuff that you get with big league experience. Where you understand how to handle yourself in different situations was really lacking. It was just that level of polish. And polish is what keeps you in the big leagues. It's not always the most talented guys. It's the guys who understand how to be the most consistent, how to have how to level off here and not go through the extremes. Because if there's one thing that is true across all major sports is that coaches hate guys that ride the roller coaster. They want consistent. They will take a lower ceiling player, a lesser talented player, but one that has a higher floor that the guy gets to on a regular basis. Because when you watch Montero having a great day, you're like, oh my gosh, look at this guy. The guy just kills the ball.
Yeah.
He's going to have really high exit velocities and he's gonna barrel up a lot of balls. But what is he doing to be productive and to be an impact guy and to keep and to be a productive member of your offense when he's not on his best day? Can he work a count? Can he take extra pitches? Can he work a walk? Right now, the answer is no. And coming into this year, I would say the answer is no.
Yeah.
I don't want to discount his season, obviously, but those are my concerns with him. Is what does he do? How does he develop in those areas of the game? Because you have to feel encouraged about the power profile. That he can barrel up a baseball pretty well. And when you put Ryan McMahon at second, one of the things that you're not going to lose with the Rogers to McMahon transition is that you are going to continue to get 20 home runs. You are going to get a power profile out of your second baseman and not, your classic slick fielding 6 home run guy, or nothing
Luis
like
Castillo.
that.
I think the other concern with Montero, of course, is the defense at third base. that's
be
another
bad.
area that goes beyond just lacking polish. He only had 24 games at third base last year and 16 at first. So, I mean, there's going to be those opportunities for him to go over to first base, and that's where maybe, again, where McMahon's at third base. So we'll keep an eye on him defensively. McMahon,
Montero's a great candidate for your DH spot as well. If
yeah,
you're trying to keep him in the
He's
lineup,
hitterish.
but you're not.
Yeah.
You don't, because you are concerned about his ability to handle third base defensively on a regular basis.
And it does sound like he'll get the start on opening day. And
the one thing about it, though, is that you really want him to figure that out, because you have so many candidates for first base elsewhere.
Yeah.
That, this guy couldn't handle it, so we have to dump him here. That's not what you want to do there. You want to you're
getting stuck. Is essentially what ends up happening.
Right,
yeah.
Because, you do have a Michael Tolia hanging around. You do have a Graham Levine on the way, and among others. There are a handful of guys in your organization that you kind of can look at and say, I can play first base for you at some point.
Hunter Goodman might even be in that conversation.
Oh, that's the other one.
All right, so with Ryan McMahon, he kind of got stuck through the first 4 months of the season. I think he was feeling the pressure of his contract extension. And then finally, April 1st, he had a big meeting with Bud Black. Not a big meeting, but just to sit down, just a conversation. It wasn't a big deal. But they had a talk, and it worked. He started hitting on April 1st in that trade deadline series in San Diego from August 1st to the end of the year. 271, 12 homers, 500 slugging percentage. We talked about ability being the greatest, or rather availability being the greatest ability. 305 games for Ryan McMahon over the last 2 years, 28th most in MLB. Go back to the start of the 2019 season, which includes the pandemic season in 2020. 497 games played, tied for 21st most. So he's healthy. He's there. He's putting up numbers. The real question I got for you, AJ, is are we going to see another level from Ryan McMahon? It's in there, but are we ever going to see it?
You're talking about a guy that's a 3 or 4 win player right now.
Yeah, that's still good.
And
a lot of value.
That's plenty of value there. Just like a solid big league player. Can he take a leap to maybe being above average? At second base, maybe. But I guess for me, I'm just not going to continue to dream. The one thing you're talking about had almost 1,200 at bats the last 2 years.
That's fair.
I guess I'm more into the acceptance stage of Ryan McMahon's career of who he is. I'm fine with who he is. I'm not asking him to continue to raise that level because they paid for a certain player. They're getting that player. I think he's fairly compensated. He's a quality guy. It's fine. I'm not overly excited about, I'm not over the moon, this is it. This is the breakout.
Sure. That was kind of last year. Last year was that year. He's still only 28, to be fair. So we still could see that. But I think the hope is, for any player with his ability, you go, oh man, he has that all-star potential. He can get out there. But can you do it consistently where you go, well, this is that player. This is him. That I don't know that we'll see, but I still think there's at least one all-star appearance.
You mentioned 12 home runs starting on August 1st. And and it's that's salvaged his season statistically. Otherwise, you were looking at it and you were like, what a nightmare this is. We paid for this guy and he didn't give us anything. Anything close to what we thought we were getting. To me, he salvaged it, but also it's a pretty big concern that it needed that level of salvation to begin with.
True.
Because you just can't have one of the few guys that you're like, this is a big league regular for us. This is a guy that we are relying on. We know what we're getting, and then have him turn around and just be okay.
40 home runs is maybe it's not that hot of a take, but between McMahon and Montero, 40 home runs. Are you going to go 45? Are you going to pit me on that? Are you going to go 50?
I don't want to price his right you on this, but if you don't get 40 out of him, I think you're really disappointed.
Yeah, it's not that high. It should
really be closer. You're really trying to find a way to get to 50 between those two guys.
I'm gonna say 50.
If they are 50 should be your baseline. I think expectation of they've proven themselves in a quality year. 40 should be your if these guys don't give you 40, you failed.
You know you're getting 40.
So
50 is the number.
Yeah,
you're shooting.
You really want to, between those two, you really do want to see 50.
All right. Well, you have proved yourself, AJ. You know your stuff. We'll talk prospects again this year. I'll do some post game shows.
Yeah.
Have you back on. The return of AJ will return.
Just let me talk about Joe Rock and Jaden Hill.
Joe Rock and Zach Veen.
I mean, Zach, the Veen dream lives. So
Veen dream, man. Veenzilla, the Veen machine. He still needs a nickname. We still need something.
I mean, draft day was Veen dream. That's all it is for me.
Yep.
Just gonna continue to dream on that guy being MVP version of Cody Bellinger.
Are you when he is scheduled to make his debut? Are you going to that first game at Coors to see him? Like it's like, hey, this Thursday he's making his MLB debut.
Probably not. I just don't have that kind of time right now.
Okay.
We'll see.
We've got all the time on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies, at Patrick D. Lyons is where I'm at on Twitter, at Return of AJ. And again, all the great written content in the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. Make sure you check that out because it's 5 days a week, so much content. And it's just getting started for you guys. Sometimes 6. There you go. That's the magic number. This has been great. It's been wonderful. But you know what they say about the momentum you build on any given podcast. It's only as good as your next show. So we will talk to you on Monday, as always, at 11 a.m. on the DNVR Sports channel on YouTube.